Hey guys, what's up? It's the Merc here from Poolshed Games, and it is the first video in the Spooky Game Talk series. Now, I'm not counting these down in any way. I guess you could kind of look at it as these are some of my favorite games, but there's no specific order in which I'm going to be going over these games. The first game, however, on the list is Pandemic by Z-Man Games. You can see it has won all kinds of awards because it's a great game. Now, some of you out there in the world of the YouTubes might be wondering, well, okay, it's a great game and it has those awards on the cover, but what makes it Halloween, spooky, scary worthy? I'm going to hopefully explain to you why I feel it is. First of all, it's a cooperative game, so you and up to 3 of your friends are playing against the game itself. The idea behind the game is 4 viruses, 4 virulent diseases have started to spread around the globe. Kind of creepy how that ties into things going on today, but it's a completely different story. And you and your friends are a team of experts that have been put together to try and find the cure to these 4 diseases before they wipe out humanity. So, it's kind of scary, right? If you think about it, because A, if you screw up, it's you and your friends' fault that humanity has been destroyed by virulent diseases. B, if you put yourself into the headspace of the game, which is important for all the games I'm going to talk about, is being able to kind of roleplay a little bit and put yourself into the headspace that the game wants you to be in. If you approach it from the idea of being one of these specialists that has been put on this case, you're facing down these 4 virulent diseases that pop up in different places around the world, randomly getting worse. You have a limited amount of time to research these things, to stop them, to find the cures. And each turn, things get progressively worse. Which means on a turn that you might have something go well, then you get nervous, because you're like, that turn went too well. Something bad is going to happen. And that's usually what happens in the next turn. Pandemic is, I don't want to call it a simple game, but it's an easy game to learn. Everyone has a job on the team, and each job has a different ability. Some of them are more helpful than others, but they all have their uses. And one of the key points in the game is trying to learn how to use the skills of your class together with the people in your group. It's kind of like an RPG in that respect. Now, probably one of the things that makes Pandemic the most infuriating game to play is there are 3 ways to lose and 1 way to win. You can lose if you run out of what are called the player's cards. These cards are cities that you can hold in your hand of different colors that you have to use to cure the diseases, or you can use to travel from place to place. This deck of cards also holds what are called the Pandemic cards. I believe they're Pandemic cards. Or they're Outbreak cards. That's what they are. Those cards are bad. Those cards are bad because when they come up, the disease spreads worse than it would have normally. And when that happens, you can have what are called you can have outbreaks where a disease might spread to a country that's already has the maximum amount of disease on it, which causes a chain reaction. The disease blossoms out into all the countries surrounding it. Yeah, so if that deck of cards runs out, you're out of time to save the world, and you have lost. What that also means is there is a element of suspense, and you have to watch and see how fast those cards go. I had a game at school with my gaming group where we were biting our nails because we had the win, but the deck only had 3 cards left in it. So we had to hope that at no point in time something happened that would make those 3 cards disappear. Luckily, it didn't. We did win, but it was one of those moments where you come to realize, like, there's 3 turns left. After those 3 turns, we're done. The second way to lose, or for the game to win, is if the outbreaks reach the skull and crossbones on the gaming board. And what that means is the viruses have reached a point where they are too spread out amongst the people, or they have killed too many people that finding the cures for these diseases just won't matter. At that point, it's game over. You've lost. So there's way number 2 to lose the game. Way number 3 to lose the game is if at any point in the game you run out of one of the different colored disease cubes. There are 4 colors. If you run out of any one of the disease cubes, colors, you lose. I guess that is to represent that the disease has completely run its course. It has mutated to the point that whatever you do will not be able to stop it, and you've lost. So those are the 3 ways to lose the game Pandemic. The only way to win the game Pandemic is to cure the 4 diseases. You don't have to eradicate them, you simply have to cure them. However, to cure disease, you have to have 5 cards of the same color. You have to take them to a disease research center and turn them in. How do you get these cards? Well, you draw cards at the end of each turn. You can also trade cards with your friends. To trade cards, though, you both have to be in the same city, and that city has to be the city on the card. Now, there are ways around that. Say if you have a certain class on your team that allows you to trade any card in any city. It's a great card. It's a great class to have in your group. But you can see why curing the diseases ends up being a lot harder than you would think at the beginning of the game. So that's how Pandemic breaks down. Why do I think it's... I don't think it's a scary game. Let me say that. It's not scary, per se. And if you saw me like looking over my shoulder, I don't think anything's creeping up behind me. My dog is making snoring loud noises in the room because apparently he doesn't know how to sleep quietly. But anyway, I don't think Pandemic is a scary game so much as it's a suspenseful game. It does a great job of building this feeling of tension as you're playing through it, because you're trying desperately and you're working with your friends, you're working together for this hope that you can save humanity and you can defeat these 4 viruses. And a lot of times it just doesn't happen. And it can be a game where you have victory. You have the win, you know what you need to do, and suddenly the winds of change come along and just poof, you're done. You've lost, the viruses have spiraled out of control. So in that regard, I think it's an incredibly tense game at times. Again, like with all the games in this series, depends on who you play it with. If you're playing, it depends on how you want to play the game. If you're playing it with a serious mindset to kind of get into that headspace, it's going to be a lot more suspenseful, a lot more even tense than if you're just kind of playing it to goof around with your buddies for an hour or however long it takes you to play the game. There's nothing wrong with either way of playing the game. There's just, there's different ways to enjoy it. So that's kind of it for Pandemic. I know I didn't open the box, I didn't go into any of the pieces or what comes in it, but I don't plan on doing that in this series. It's not an unboxing or a what's in the box series. It's talking about the games, talking about the basic idea, and talking about why they're scary or suspenseful or both. So hopefully you guys liked this video. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you've played Pandemic and you've had those moments where you're on the verge of victory and all of a sudden the game snatches it from you and leaves you in crushing defeat, let us know in the comments. I love to hear stories like that. Or if you have, against all odds, beaten the game, please let us know in the comments. We will see you guys next time on Bullshit Games.